It's always fun to find brand new manufacturers, and Momenta is one we've discovered this year. And they have just such a wonderful look with their products, very unique things too.
One of those unique products is called Sticky Stencils, and it makes creating with stencils easier.
And we're about to show you how. Come play with us. Well, we have 8 of them, and here they are. I think we're offering it in 2 different bundles, not quite sure, but you can see just a wide variety of designs. But before we get to that, show us the stickiness.
All right. So this is, I'm going to move these up just a little bit so you can see this. So this is one of the sticky stencils, and it has 3 stencils on here. They come on this plastic film. When you want to use one, you peel it off of the plastic. It comes off pretty simply, and it's got a tacky. It's not super tacky. It's just kind of just tacky enough to stick to cardstock. And paper or what have you, and peel off again, and I'll show you that in a little bit too. And they also clean with soap and water. So if you find that it's too tacky for something that you're using, they suggest putting it on something like your jeans or something like that to sort of lessen the tackiness a little bit. And then when you wash it just with soap and water, the stickiness returns.
And the beauty of the stickiness is that it doesn't pull up the paper or the cardstock. It just works very, very nicely.
Right, and it sits cleanly so that you can do your stenciling, your embossing paste or whatever you're going to put on there. It's stuck down to that paper so that it won't bleed underneath it while you're stenciling.
So if that's ever been a problem for you, this is the answer.
Works great.
Yeah, let me show you some of the designs. Actually, you're kind of seeing 4 of them right there. So there's an alphabet. You can see the chevrons and these 2 interlocking.
This is neat. This is called Moroccan.
Oh, good.
And then you've got the squares, tiles, and design.
Thank you for knowing those names.
Those are the overall patterns, and then that alphabet, which is great.
And then we have 4 little not overall patterns, more with words and images. So this is flowers and bugs, and
you can see
let's get in right there
to see the different designs that are within here. Rather large flowers. You've got vines on there, butterflies, what do you call
Dragonflies?
them? Bees. Whatever.
And then we've got some large, this is what you just showed us.
Right.
And then this is a variety of celebration items, as you can see. And then we also have another grouping of words.
They also have a couple of ideas right on the top there. I think that's kind of interesting to use that stencil and then etch. And we have the etching material that you can etch glass. Oh, we used to.
Sorry. And so you can just see some ideas there. More with home dec, interestingly enough, but we're excited to use these in paper crafting.
And let's see how it's been used.
Well, let's start off with scrapbooking.
Okay.
And this, so you can see that Blessed Family is just powy on this.
Right.
And yet we have that, and this is using the Family Ties paper toll as well as the Family Ties paper.
Right, and this one was using, it's got this one. It's got Blessed, it's got Family, and it's got that scroll all together in this one stencil. So
but
that's what you're seeing.
2 different things were used.
2 different things were used.
So the Blessed you can see, and the Family is done the same way. So we'll focus on that first.
So that was done with a white embossing paste. So the embossing paste was placed through the stencil, and then while it was still wet, it was sprinkled with glitter.
Right, so we happen to have this glitter assortment. There's some smaller glitter assortments too, but just doing that. Now, anything that we need to know about that process?
Sure, I'm going to show you. So I've got some black cardstock here. I'm going to peel off one of these stencils. Don't do it too quickly. You don't want to, you see they come sometimes in kind of big open areas, so you just want to sort of gently ease it off there. They're really pretty sturdy, but I don't want to take the chance of ripping it here at the top or the bottom. So once you've got it, it's kind of tacky, and there's my cardstock. And I'm just going to place it right on the center of that, just lay it down. Okay, I've done that, it's stuck on there. So I didn't have to use stencil tape or anything like that, it stays on there. And all of the little areas around the lettering are stuck down. I've got some embossing paste. I actually used a different color, but in the case that Debbie did, she did it on the pattern paper and she used the white embossing paste. And I'm just going to show you how the embossing paste works with it. So I've got the gold. I've got this is from one of our new packs. It's a 3-pack of spreaders. There are 3 different pieces in there. Here's one. Palette tools. There's one, here's one. There's a nice large one in there too. They're a lot of fun. I like using these and in different for different techniques. So you just get some of your embossing paste and you spread it on. And I would probably mask the edges if I was concerned about how that was going to look. In this case, in Debbie's case, she cut out around it, so it doesn't matter a whole lot. So I'm just spreading it across and making sure that I'm keeping even with the top of the stencil. I'm going to press it onto the stencil so that it removes the excess.
And speaking of removing the excess, you can see that you do want to see that white stencil. You're not covering it with the embossing paste as well as the...
Okay, so once I've got, I actually sort of, somehow I scooped off a piece there.
Someone recently asked on one of the webisodes of, do you remove the stencil or do you let the embossing paste dry?
Oh,
you remove the stencil.
Remove it, because if you don't, then that embossing paste is going to stick to the stencil and the paper, and then you won't be able to remove it and have a nice clean edge. I think I'm going to start from the other end because there are less openings at the other end for when I remove it. So it'll be a little easier to pick up. So here we go, and I'm grabbing the edge and now I'm just lifting. It'll come off with it. There we go.
There you go.
It all comes off.
Now with the gold, you may remember from other webisodes, is that as it dries, it becomes very shiny. When it's first on like this, it has a gold, kind of an old gold look, but as it dries, it will become much more shiny. Also, as it dries, if you have any little areas like this that maybe didn't get as thick a coating, those will disappear because the gold is going to camouflage that.
Right,
so,
but look at the clean edges on that. Because of that stencil was placed down, it's just stuck to the paper, it leaves these nice clean edges. Another thing that Debbie did, and I'm going to bring out my craft sheet, which I probably should have done.
Well, let me show, you're going to do the blue?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
gonna do the blue.
So look right here on the edge of the photos, which I think is really a neat idea. And that has a similar look to the glitter. There's the glitter. There's the swirl, but this was done with a new product, and it is called
the sparkle texture paste is what it is.
And there's quite a few colors that we have. It is just a glittered embossing paste, so it's already done for you, and so it's a little simpler to use.
Right, and I've peeled up my sticky stencil, so here's the little one. It's within that same package that I showed you, and the sticky side is on the back here, and I'm going to sort of remove a little bit of the stickiness. I'm placing it on my arm, but you can do this on your jeans or something, just a little bit of tackiness, and that'll all come back after you wash it. I'm going to place it on the edge of the photo wherever I would like that to be. And just, I went off the edge of the photo.
And very often there's what I think of as unused areas in your photo. They're very much like this one where we see this cute little kid, but this area is perhaps not as important. Right. So it's nice to do something in those spaces.
So I've got my sticky stencil on there. I've gotten my sparkle texture paste here. Oh, so
look at it. I
know. So here's that smaller spreader. I love the smallness of it. You can sort of get into tight spaces with that. You don't need very much of this. And then spread it across there. And again, you could mask off areas to make sure that this doesn't get anywhere else.
You could just put some Post-its on each side if you wanted to. Or do it on camera and live with without a net.
I just like to get it done quick, and have you noticed I'm a little impatient? Could be.
It's a quality I like.
Okay, so there we've got it, and I'm going to peel up that stencil. It comes right off of the photo, like
and
so.
Look, let's hold that up so you can see.
That, yeah.
Just really pretty. You also are going to get a little dimension with that, just like you do with the embossing paste.
Right.
So just really
The stencils
pretty.
are thin. They're pretty thin. So you're just going to get a little bit of lift, but I love the dimension.
Which is always amazing to me, that it's such a thin material and yet you get such a punch when you use any of the embossing paste. Nice to have these new ones.
Okay, so you've
now,
got something else?
We do have something else. Look at this. So this has got a bunch of things going on with it, and this is using that Moroccan stencil. There we go.
So you've got that in the background. It's also using one of those that has the stars and the hearts. I can't remember which one of those has. I think it's Celebrate. So I'm looking for Celebrate. Is it that one?
Nope.
No, we're close.
There you go.
There we go, because you're seeing the stars and the hearts. There are hearts in there as well, so you see those up in the corner.
So using those, kind of creating a grid work, but putting it off center. In fact, I'm not sure that, well, maybe it was, yeah. Okay, and then a little I love you in there. But what's going on here? I see the shine.
I'm going to bring in my craft sheet. I'm going to pretty much do this every time. By the way, something that you're not seeing off camera is that when I peel up those stencils, I immediately put them into a tray of water. They pretty much have to be washed right away. Expect that they're going to get stained, like this one, and this can be removed with something like a Surfaces ink remover or something like that.
Stays on.
Right, it might be able to get that off later, but you know, I'm not worried about it staining as long as there's nothing stuck on there. So get it washed right away, soap and water, and then be careful with it otherwise. So I've got a piece of paper here, I've got this, and you're really only going to use a block that's, let's see, we're going to turn it this way and get that center block. Okay, so you're seeing it's almost like a tic-tac-toe in there. You've got those center ones. That's where it's going to be, so I'll remove it from the plastic.
And the beauty of a stencil is that you can get that intricate kind of grid work without any work.
Right, there it is. Now this is going to be cut out around the edges afterwards, so it's not, I'm not really particular about how close I am to the edge, just to make sure that you've got something around the edge and that you're only really going to be working in those center areas. So first, Debbie used dark peony fluid chalk ink. And she inked through the stencil, so I've got that ready.
And that's where she's getting that deeper shade of the pink. Of course, the paper is the lighter shade.
Right, and I don't worry about going over the edge, because like I said, you're going to cut right around that outer edge when it's all inked and done. And you can make this whatever color you want. You can make it however deep, the shade that you like. Just go over that entire area, which I am not going to do, but I'm going to do part of it. So there we've got part of it, and then we move on to the Versamark. So I grab Versamark and another sponge, and this is for using embossing powder, so embossing powder will stick to it afterwards. And I'm going to go right over it with the Versamark and get some of those areas. I'm not going to do the entire thing right now, but you would do the entire thing with the Versamark.
So that's what's going to give the shine.
Right. Well, what you're going to stick to the Versamark is going to give us, which is the clear gloss Wow embossing powder. So after you've got Versamark on there, you peel this up, and now you can see where your design is. You can also see the edges. This is where I have the Versamark. This is where I worked on, and at this point I would just sprinkle some of the fine embossing powder on there, and I'm just gonna, and then when I'm done, I'm just gonna make sure that it's on there, and afterwards you would heat emboss it. So it's only going to be stuck right in those areas, in those squares, and then when you heat emboss it, it's going to be glossy.
Look like that.
Look like that.
there it is, nice and shiny. You may notice that I shifted this over. It wasn't quite glued to the black suede paper.
You know, it can sometimes be hard to glue just using a glue stick to suede, and that's one of those places where I use the My Stick.
Oh.
I really like the My Stick for that. It's a double-sided adhesive, and it sticks to suede very well.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's a great place to use it.
Also, the Ultra Tape would work.
So that it won't travel. Yeah,
so
Ultra Tape as well.
You can see these shiny areas. That's where first the ink was applied, then the Versamark, then the clear embossing powder.
Right.
And you'll notice that that was a giant size container of the clear embossing powder.
It was.
It's because you use it so much that it's kind of nice to get that larger size.
Right. It's really, you can use that for so many different applications. For resist, it works great.
Now these other pieces were using the stencil, but these were cut out, and so you can do that with the stencils.
They were cut out, but what I would suggest on the suede is to put the stencil on the back, so it doesn't pick up all that stuff from the suede. You can put the stencil on the back, trace it, and then remove your stencil and cut out those pieces.
There you go. And the inside of the card uses two of the shapes. This time they've got green over the pink and also more of the clear embossing powder. So happy birthday and I love you on the front. Very, very sweet.
It's cute.
Little
I love
checkerboard.
That's a really cute effect.
Now we have something very, very different, and look at this.
So this is just beautiful, and this is using the new Trailblazer paper pack.
Right, it is.
But it's also using some other products.
These are micro beads, and as we get in there, you can see that there's texture going on.
Right, and some of the microbeads, some of the colored microbeads are translucent, so you can sort of see through them even though they have color within them. And some of them are a solid color, like these copper. Now, the stencils that were used for this one were, I think it's called the Beautiful Words stencil.
Right. It's just that joy was used.
Right.
And then we also used the new Birds on a Branch stencil, so you can see that that little bird was used.
Right.
Now, how to adhere those beads, one might ask. Well, and we have an answer.
We have an answer. It's called translucent embossing paste.
Right.
And we saw a lot of this in last week's, or I don't know if it was last week, but in the recent WOW and Summer WOW.
And when she did with the colorist books, which was amazing.
So you can check that out and see a lot of great uses for that. But what you're seeing is that the stencils were placed, the embossing paste was put through the stencil, and then the stencil removed, and then you place the microbeads, or just shake the microbeads on top of there, so you can get that beautiful look.
And they stay very, very nicely.
They do. They're very
kind
firm.
of neat.
There are lots and lots of words on this one. It's just covered with lots of different words that you can use in so many different ways. That was just one. The joy was used even without the heart on top. It works great. So.
And also that frame is with the 3 lacy labels cutting die, so you can see how beautiful that is. The white that you're seeing is foam. It just helps release the paper a little bit easier.
It just pushes it out. Yeah, the design of this is actually up in the corner, which is just very beautiful and intricate.
You can certainly see it right there. So just a really pretty card. This is about a 5-inch square card. I don't think we have an inside. No, we don't. But just a one beautiful outside. Beautiful. So that's something new that you can do with.
So really simple to use for sticky stencils.
Such dimension. And look at this.
Isn't that fun?
Very fun, very colorful.
Fun and exciting.
And how do we do it?
Well, first of all, it was using the Celebrate stencil set that you see here. There are balloons on there. There are candles, family, just married, believe, graduate, home, welcome, celebrate. So you can use them for a variety of different things.
And of course, the chevron.
The chevrons, right.
But turned on its side. Now, I like that. That's very fun.
That is fun. And that was done with Gelatos. So I've got the stencil here. I've got some cardstock. There's a bundle of Gelatos. It's a kind of a huge set of all different colors. You could just use.
You want to see them?
Sure.
Okay, let me bring them in.
You can use all those Gelatos together.
There you go.
Which is
looks like that.
Right.
Very fun.
Each has all those colors.
Yeah, each has 4 and a brush and a stamp.
And a stamp. So they're great little sets. Even with one set of just one color ranging would be great. But I love all of the colors that was used there. And very simply, you have cardstock, you have your sticky stencil. I'm going to peel off the sticky stencil. And this has got lots of little chevrons going down, so I want to make sure that they don't kind of stick to each other. If they do, they come apart really easily. It's no big deal. I just
These are a nice,
of,
generous size,
oh yeah,
too.
They're huge. So let me get my gelatos out of the way, my paper ready, and then I just sort of, I'm going to start at the bottom and just sort of lay it down.
Okay.
Like so. Did I get it on there?
You did.
Okay. There we go. I could do a little bit more even job, but see, it even sticks to the craft mat,
I was just
so it's not going to move around.
That's nice.
Kind of nice. I love these little art daubers. These art daubers, you stick them on your finger, and this one has already been used with the red, so I've got the red gelatos.
They come in a package.
They do.
Of, I think, 6.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right underneath the...
Oh, there they are.
There we go.
There it is. Wait, there's the official package.
There they are.
Right.
So you get quite a few. You can wash them off too, or you can keep them specifically for certain colors. And I'm going to start by applying right through the stencil here to get some of it
And if you've not used Gelatos before, don't be dismayed by this first step because it looks pretty amateurish.
Right.
But you're going to fix that.
You're just going to start moving it around with the art daubers like so.
Yes.
I'm doing little circular motions.
Wait, move your hand for a second. Okay, see,
there we go.
That's kind of crayon-y.
Right.
And then you can smooth it. So
right. And you can move it into the next area. You can start to get it a little lighter in the next area because you're going to add the next color. So I'll set that one aside and grab an orange and start with an orange. And I kind of think the best idea is to start in the next area because you want to combine.
Leave a white one.
Right. Well, you want those colors to blend in between. So if I go sort of every other one with the colors, then I'll grab my orange one. Then I can start blending. I'll try to keep my hand out of the way. I'll try to check the progress here. See, it looks like that. Then start blending it over to the right with that red area in the center, and then you've got sort of a blended color.
Very nice.
Blend it and then blend it over.
And you can even blend a little bit to your left.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that will be,
now
then the next one will be yellow over there.
Yeah, now we will have a white in between them because these areas will be white.
In fact, I'm going to go ahead and peel that off and show you. So the first part being done, you can do more, of course. Peeling it up, it does come off. You just kind of have to work with it one piece at a time because these are
big
kind
open
of,
area.
It is. It's a big open area on this one.
Right.
There, I'm going to grab it, pull up this way. There we go.
Now,
so you can see that.
You'll notice on here that there's yellow between the colors. Well, what Debbie did is she went back and did yellow over those.
She did. You know, I didn't even catch that. I think she probably moved the stencil over to the left and did the yellow. So another idea is to do the background in yellow first and then put the chevrons on top.
Or do it on yellow cardstock.
Sure.
Yeah, so very fun. But to see that gradation, and same thing on the little balloons.
Right.
And then this is also adding the birthday greetings dazzles. That giant happy birthday comes from this set.
Which
so it's got 3.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Plus you've got the red jewel border dazzles and it's just so beautiful.
Gosh, I just happen to have those too. Isn't that a nice coincidence?
Okay, and now don't forget, on each one of these techniques, when I'm done, I'm putting that stencil directly in water.
Okay.
So remember that step. It's an important one.
Now here's the word celebrate also, and the candle's also done with Gelatos, just exactly as you just demonstrated, with a yellow background. So very fun to do. I just think it's nice to use these products in various ways. It kind of justifies that purchase, don't you think?
Yeah, you want to be able to do more than one thing for all of your different mediums that you have.
Now we have one more card, and it's a beauty.
It is.
Look at that.
Spectacular.
So fun.
Well, that's a Susan card.
That is a Susan card.
More. But there's a lot going on here, and it's using several different, we've got the thankful, I've got that here.
And the interlocking circles.
And the interlocking circles. And then we've got some of the flowers as well.
Okay.
So we've got flowers, there are leaves on here as well. There's a leaf there. So all of these were used, and the basic technique is what was done on the background, and so I'll show you that first.
Okay.
So I've got cardstock, and I have distress inks, in specific the mini distress ink.
This is set number
1.
Okay. Right. So they come like that. You can get them individually in large size, but Ranger just came out with these little mini sets. I think there are 9 of them.
Okay.
And it's just nice to have them. And
well, it's nice to have a combination of several different colors all in one spot. They complement each other, so you can just sort of grab them and go to town with them.
And you're going to go to town?
And I'm going to go to town with more art daubers.
Okay.
Which you can see have been used. They're just so cute.
They are.
And so I've got this distress ink.
And they let you control the ink.
This is the pink one, picked raspberry, and the orange one is spiced marmalade. And Susan started by applying the ink to the background as well first. So, and she does that with these because they are rounded edged and they're not going to leave a sharp line. And so you just start going around and you keep going around in circles. And now I'm going to show you an example of what you shouldn't do. Okay. Don't get a bunch of ink on there and press down hard and then start and go, because
that's what you get. You get a dot.
And that's very hard to cover up and smooth out. So
no matter how much you rub it, you're not going to rub it off.
So you want to start with light pressure. And that's, I'm showing you that because I did it at one point.
I've done it too. I've done it too.
So start light and just kind of keep adding. And it's a little bit of a process. You add some in this, up in this corner. It's kind of fun to add the different colors and add some down in that area. And I'm not going to blend these in a whole lot. I'm just showing you some of the different areas that you can apply and then go to a different color and start adding. And I kind of like to come in off the edge and blend it up until you get right into that other color, and you're going to blend them together.
Right.
Okay, when you're all done, it will look something like this.
Ooh, gorgeous.
Okay.
Gorgeous.
A little bit like a tie-dye. It's just kind of, it's a beautiful look. And then you're going to get to your stencil. Now, because distress inks they're like water reactive.
Right.
They will reactivate with water. We're not going to put the stencil on there first. We're going to do something with it before we put it on there.
What are we going to do?
First, we're going to remove it from the plastic background. This is an important step, which I didn't quite understand until I did this. Okay. And I think it's cool that Susan thought of this. I just think it was a really interesting thing. You place that down, hopefully on a craft mat, so it won't, you can pick it up real easy. You're going to spritz it really well with water. So let me move that over.
You're spritzing the stencil.
I am. I'm spritzing the stencil, not the paper. So you're going to get a nice coat of water on there, really get it wet. And it's not going to soak up, it's just going to sit on the top. Because it's
plastic, right.
And you're going to pick it up and place it right on top of your paper.
Really?
Don't move it around after you do that. So the sticky side is up right now. You place the plastic, which does not have water on it, on the back, and use that to press it in place. I'm hoping I didn't move it around when I did that. Really press it. You want that water pressed into it. And one thing that I'm going to say is that I kind of think that this will work. You'll get more of an effect if you've just done the ink and did this. I did the ink on this yesterday in preparation for this demo. So we'll see what happens when you pull it up.
Oh, I'm seeing. Okay, it's starting to activate.
Right. So you can see some of that of what it does. So you can see some of that background.
Wow, that's
really great.
pretty.
Isn't that great? Now that was and now that's back on the plastic, and it's really pretty clean. I don't even have to do anything to clean that off. But I just thought that was a really neat thing. Make sure you remove it from the plastic first, because if you spray it while it's on the plastic, the whole thing will be wet and you won't get the same effect.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Never would have thought of that.
I thought that was a great one.
Now, you can see that when Susan did it, she did it freshly after she had freshly inked.
I believe so,
And that's going to give it a little more definition, but quite a very pretty look. So then her thankful is done with black ink, I'm assuming?
Black ink, so just place the thankful. Do this on several different papers, and then place the thankful stencil right on top of there and ink through with a cosmetic wedge and probably stays on.
In fact, it looks like she misted it because I can see some droplets.
Oh, she could have.
Yeah. Same thing for the flower. You can cut those out. Now the green came from another set, it looks like.
That came from the stencil. That came from the flowers stencil. Here it is. So this stencil, it also has those leaves on there. So you can see in that process, she did the same thing. She inked it with yellow and green. Then she sprayed water on the stencil, turned it over, and pressed the top of it onto there.
And I'm sure
removed it.
You would get some shade of green if you mix the the yellow and the blue.
Exactly.
But you can play with that.
That's what she did. You can mix them together. You can get some nice effects with those inks.
Just a little 1/8 inch grosgrain ribbon there, just so. And then how cute on the
I love
inside.
that. So it even has those tiny little ones on. Okay, where did they come from? They came from
probably the words.
Yeah, no, I think they came from there too. Oh, that's
the
partly.
flower.
Yeah, she's got
flowers right there.
So here's one of the flowers here, and then I think the center probably might have come from. I don't know. There's another one with birds or bugs and whatnot, and it might have been from that one.
So the word friends. I do like the font that they've used. I think it's just very, very legible, very, very nice without being too fancy. So, okay, so I think you can see that the design team has had a wonderful time with the sticky stencils.
Experimenting and playing.
They call them adhesive stencils. We kind of like the term sticky stencils, so little alliteration there.
You know, we also carry a line of create your own sticky stencil, or it's their line.
It's from Momenta.
It's from them, and it's actually a white sheet. So while these are already cut out with all of these designs, it's a white blank sheet, and you can use cutting dies. You could use our cutting dies to cut out your own stencils.
Yeah, so use theirs or make your own. You've got it covered both ways. And Momenta, great job. You'll be showing you more of their products too.
Lots of fun.